Today we're going to have a second look at one of the Philippines' business movers. In the following feature, we train the spotlight on another business mover in the Philippines, one who wears different hats in his various interests, whether they be in business or in his different advocacies. We would like you to meet up close and personal once again, Mr. Edgardo Lacson.
Mr. Edgardo Lacson, or Ed as friends call him, is one of the more visible business leaders hereabout, probably because of the various fields that he is engaged in, but not too many know of his roots and his early years.
My mother came from San Fernando, La Union. She's a 100% full-blooded Ilocana. And my father is a Caviteño, 100% full-blooded Caviteño. How they met, I don't know. We are 5 children. I'm the second eldest, and we have only one sister.
Ed Lacson's mother was a full-time housewife, while his father worked as an accountant at the Philippine General Hospital before moving to a transport company. He readily confesses that he is not fluent in Ilocano because he grew up in Makati and Cavite, but his wife Mila is also a pure Ilocana from Vigan.
I spent my childhood until grade 1 in Cavite, Malagasang. Then we transferred to Makati. So I'm now a full-blooded Makati resident because this is where I work, I play, and I live.
He spent his elementary years at the Pio del Pilar School, a public school in Makati, then moved to a Protestant school, the Philippine Christian College, before going to De La Salle University for his accounting degree. He graduated in 1965, but like other young people, he wanted to try everything.
I wanted to be a doctor. Not because I just want to heal people, but I was attracted by their uniform. Kasi white lahat eh, magandang tingnan. It was immaculately clean, and I was attracted. But then my father is pragmatic. Sabi niya, I'm an accountant. For immediate employment, you take up accounting. Doctor will take a long time and it's very expensive. So I was dissuaded.
And so, it was in accounting that Ed Lacson sank his teeth into.
My first job was my last job in ESO. Because in La Salle, we had this job orientation series. 4 days before my graduation, we were interviewed by multinationals, PNC, Procter & Gamble, Mobile, Caltech, and I happened to like ESO. So I was hired by ESO before my graduation. That was my first. And then ESO was nationalized, taken over by Petron or PNOC. And then I left to do business on my own.
In ESSO, he looked at this boss as his role model. But an unfulfilled promise made the young Ed rethink his future with the company. One afternoon, his boss told him that he was not going to get the promotion that was promised to him. And on the same day, he tendered his resignation. That fateful day defined the path that Ed Lacson would take, plotting his new direction no longer as an employee but as a businessman. He met a Japanese businessman who wanted to set up business in the Philippines, and the two grew to trust each other enough to be partners in a trading company they put up together. That partnership was going to last all of 30 years.
Well, actually, ang business kasi parang mushroom. It goes everywhere, it grows and it sprouts. And you take care of one company, it germinates other companies. So from shipping, we went into real estate, we went into food, we went into chemicals, construction, port operations, jetty operations.
All of these businesses are well established in their own right. The shipping company was started in 1981, and today his oil tanker ships oil for major oil companies. There is also his concern for the environment, which gave birth to a phenomenal means of livelihood for hundreds of Makati residents. The Jolly Jeep, his own brainchild 12 years ago, can now be seen in many areas of Makati, in and out of the central business district.
Because the Jolly Jeep, before you will see the Jolly Jeep before, these are the old dilapidated Fieras and jeepneys. They ran, but they were so dilapidated And you can see bayong and kawali and kaldero hanging around. And the vendors were on shorts, hindi pa naghihilamos, hindi pa kumakain, hindi pa nagtututbrush, nakatsinelas. And they were selling food. And sabi namin sa mayor ng Makati at that time, si Mayor Binay, your city looks like Wall Street inside the building. But outside is worse than Divisoria. Because nagkalat yan, more 500 of them all over the city. And very unsightly and very unsanitary. And they had reports of diarrhea among the customers. Karamihan kasi mga jeepneys, mga transient customers. So we proposed to them, why don't you put up a mobile store that is decent? That will be part of our CSR. So we will spend for the mobile store and then we will manage the distribution of food.
Originally conceived as part of their corporate social responsibility projects, the Jolly Jeep is now Ed Lacson's legacy to the marginalized family of Makati cities, the original vendors who used old Fieras and broken Jeeps to sell food. The Social Welfare Department of Makati vetted these vendors, certified them as indigents, and became beneficiaries of the Jolly Jeep program.
It used to be a CSR, but CSR cannot be sustained if it is not viable. So we have to make it viable. And over this, I think it's more than 12 years already, this Jolly Jeep. And before you can see, and now you can see the profile has changed. Dati mga jeepney driver, taxi driver, mga vendors, ang kumakain. Now you can see people with necktie and barong, some are from the embassies, and they're not patronizing our store.
Ed Lacson served as past president of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry and continues to serve as honorary chairman and director of PCCI, while also serving as chairman of the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, or ECOP. He is an honorary member of Diliman Rotary Club because he simply cannot find the time to faithfully attend its weekly meetings. Sits as a director in the boards of De La Salle University, the Stock Exchange, Pag-ibig, and Lucico's Pure Gold. At the PCCI, his watch was credited with a new management concept for the organization. PCCI came to mean participative, consultative, consensual, and informative. And at the height of the financial crisis of 2008, he conceived of another acronym, FIRE.
Food security, infrastructure development, re-engineering of education, and then energy self-sufficiency. Those are the cornerstone of our advocacy.
At the ECOP, Ed Lacson finds that the many difficult issues Philippine employers face is a challenge that he cannot shirk from.
Well, ECOP was created by law under Marcos to represent the single voice of employers, together with the UCP as the single voice of workers. As ECOP, it is our mandate to protect the interests of employers, but without sacrificing the benefit of the employees.
The ECOP president laments that our local labor laws are overly punitive, the only country that jails an employer for as long as 2 years if he is unable to pay the minimum wage prescribed. The Philippines also has the highest number of holidays in the region, and which has boomeranged against the very population that the labor laws sought to protect.
The number of holidays is the highest in Asia, and we're trying to trim down the number of holidays because we are the most unproductive country in the whole Asian region. We are fighting more than 200 holiday bills, compensation bills, economic bills. Each one of them very detrimental to employers. For example, women, right now, women are given 60 days, 60 days maternity leave, kung normal. 78 days pagka cesarean. There's a bill pending making it 6 months. Eh, pagkagawa mo 6 months yun, kagaya ng kadi ko sa Alabang, 14 yung anak. If I have an employee that gives birth every year, hindi ko na pakikinabangan yan for 14 years. Kasi mga employee, sabi nila, hindi na ako mag-hire ng nanganganak na babae. Puro mga hindi na tunay na babae, pero kung magtrabaho, parang babae, pero hindi nabubuntis.
His take on the minimum wage, which is also the highest in the region, is this.
A minimum wage is for the worker, But in family, one family, minsan meron 5, 4 na working brothers, sons. Tulong-tulong yun eh. Pag pinag-add mo yun, di malaki rin ang kita ng pamilya.
ECOP is keen on amending our outdated labor laws and trimming the holidays to make our workers more productive. Our minimum wage is so much higher than others, such that where hours translate to $10.40 a day, in Bangladesh, it is a far 50 cents per day. No wonder investors shy away from the Philippines. Additionally, there is also the need to reconcile ECOP's position with those of our legislators.
We have to educate some of our legislators that the employers are not the enemy. We need to attract investment, and investment equals employment.
At his own office for his shipping lines, Ed Lacson walks the talk. His employees, many of whom have been with him since 1979, are considered family. One room in this vast office is designated as their dining room, where everyone eats together, partaking of the same food provided by the company. And where most other companies discourage relatives working in the same company, this model company does the opposite.
Kami, we encourage. Saan yung mga crew, mga kapitan, kung may kapatid o anak kayo na magiging seaman, pag-retire nyo, papasukin nyo rin. We encourage that. Huwag lang yung mag-ama, magkasama sa isang barko, magkahiwalay.
But Ed Lacson, the consummate businessman, is not all work and no play. Where in his younger days he played basketball and some bowling, he now enjoys his regular rounds of golf with friends.
We always play with friends, but we never play a friendly game. We bet.
He is also part of a golf circuit he formed with PCCI golfers. On the family front, he sets aside time for his wife Mila Lacson, who worked as a bank executive at the Bank of America before she moved to export and now heads the Philippine Chamber of Handicraft Industries.
She has her own export company, mga giftwares, Christmas wear, mga seasonal displays. At one time when she was in Pepper Mache, kalalabas lang nung Jurassic Park, she transported one huge dinosaur made of paper mache, one dinosaur in one container for a Hollywood set.
Every year, they visit their children in Las Vegas, occasionally going on trips to places like Europe as part of family bonding time with his 3 children and 6 grandchildren. For a man who wears several hats, we ask, who is Ed Lacson?
Mr. Ed Lacson is a very sensitive person. He cries when there are occasions to cry, and he laughs a lot. I love to be with people.
The playful side of Ed Lacson comes to fore when he reminisces his younger days at the ESSO, when he and his colleagues would spend almost 2 hours on coffee break. When confronted by a boss on the long drawn-out breaks, he retorted,
Boss, we are paying 30% of our salary to the BIR. This is government time.
He says it is not easy to give advice to our young leaders because each has his own take on what should be done. To set a good example, however, rear good and responsible children and run your companies well and profitably so that your own employees will improve their lives. And how does he want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a person who does not want to be remembered. No, seriously. Alam mo kasi you don't work to be remembered. What they see in me is what they will all get. And there is no pretension that I would like to be remembered as a benevolent provider or a benevolent leader. Bahala na sila ron. Because if I'm gone, it doesn't matter anymore how you will be remembered. But it's how you live now. Sabi nga nila, there are many hundreds of yesterdays and many uncertain tomorrows. Just enjoy today. There's only one day that you can enjoy, today.
It's nice to see the other side of our more prominent business movers, the human side of them, which makes them infinitely more interesting and colorful. You just met Mr. Edgardo Lacson, who is the president of MIS Maritime Corporation, Safe Seas Shipping Agency, Maritime Industrial Supply Corporation, and EML Realty, among others.